Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'd like to talk to you about supermarkets and their usage of psychological tactics. So, it may be an outdated practice because I used information that I used when I wrote an article a few years ago, but I think most of it still applies. Obviously, this was before the pandemic. So, supermarkets actually think quite closely about their layout, and because obviously they know they want to make customers buy as much as possible. The supermarkets rely on the subconscious mind of people, and that includes primarily emotions. So, here, smell, sound, and sight. So when you enter a supermarket, you can see that, at least in most supermarkets, there's the fresh produce, and there's also fresh bread that you see. So you can see the vegetables and fruits. Obviously, that's a really happy sight, a really good sight. And the smell of fresh bread is obviously something that is quite pleasant as well. So basically, the supermarkets here try to appeal to our senses, because if it smells good, if it looks good, it promotes the feeling of this is a relaxing place, this is a refreshing place. So they already enter the supermarket with a nice feeling. But now there's a second point I want to talk to you about, which is the shelf placement. So the placement of products on the shelf. Most items that the supermarkets want to make you buy, so expensive products, so the ones that they can make the most profit with, are at the eye level of most customers. Obviously, I'm thinking, so there's people that are really tall and there's people that are smaller. So I wonder what height they consider to be eye level. That's something that I would need to research a bit further. But there has been research that used eye tracking devices. So they put them on people, and then I can't remember exactly the details, but basically they found that the people usually mainly focus on things on their eye level. So they know that, when they're in front of a shelf, they could see that most people look at products on their eye level. But obviously we also have shelves that are higher and lower than our eye level. And that's where the supermarkets usually put their cheap products or less popular products. Because also it means it's more, you need to make more effort to get to the product. And I think that's especially true if it's on the higher shelf, especially if you're not particularly tall. Talking about height, children obviously are smaller, so their eye level is obviously different. It's quite at the bottom. So the supermarkets often put child's, products that appeal to children on the bottom shelf, and that's especially true for shopping aisles that feature specifically toys and accessories and all that for children. Another tactic that supermarkets use is obviously they want you to spend more time there, because the more time you spend there, the more product you will buy, which means more money for them. So it means that many supermarkets don't quite follow a specific order that makes sense. So they may have an aisle that is about food products, and then it's a clothing aisle, and then there's another food aisle, and they mix that all up so that if you want to get a specific product or just the essentials like milk, bread, vegetables that you have to go walk a long time to get to different places. So I sometimes, I don't know, I feel that's quite stressing actually. But because you then walk a lot more, you see a lot more aisles, and you're probably gonna put more stuff in your trolley, which means you buy more, and that's more money. Now, another thing is, if you don't want to go down the aisle and walk them up and down, we usually just go past them, and obviously we only see the ends of the aisles. So that's also where the supermarkets put their most attractive products, or the ones that are branded, that are currently on sale, and that they want to sell, basically, are there, because those are the areas where you're most likely to see them. When talking about sale, obviously you probably have heard of that tactic. They put a price tag on it and say it's on sale. Let's say it was previously £5 and now it costs only £3. They make it look like the product is on sale for £3, but actually the product has been costing £3 all along. So that's one of the tactics. However, I think there is a law, at least in Germany, where you can't do that anymore, but I'm not entirely sure. And a similar practice is done for multi-buys. So, when you've got, let's say, there's an offer for 3 packs of cereals for a specific price. But if you were to actually calculate the price that you would pay if you bought them individually, you could actually end up spending more. So multi-buys could potentially cost you more money. That's why I personally often look at the price tag, and I don't know if it's also in the UK because it's been a while, but in Germany at least, it gives you the price per 100 grams or per kilo or piece, and then you can actually compare the product of the multi-buy with the separate ones, and then you can also see which one is actually more expensive. Then trolleys, the supermarket trolleys, they obviously, we all know how they look. They're quite big actually. They have become bigger over the years, and they also try to play with our perception, because basically you don't necessarily see it if you look at them, but if you look at them a little bit closer, you can see that the end where you push is a bit lower than the other end. So basically it looks that if you put products in, that the trolley is still empty, despite the fact that you already put products in. Basically it's not horizontally aligned. Because they found, so the supermarkets know that empty trolleys don't look good to us subconsciously, so we like full trolleys. So obviously if they make more space and make it look like it's not as full as it is, it means you put more products in. Some trolleys actually now have also GPS installed. That information is from a couple of years ago, so I don't know if they still do that, if they're allowed to, and which countries actually all do that. But the idea is basically they can track your walking patterns, so they see what aisle you walk down, and they obviously know what products are there, and that gives them a specific idea of what and where you buy things. I've also read that some floors have different textures, so you might have some speed bumps. I've never seen them in any shop, but I'm sure there are some, because then it makes you slow down, and then obviously you look to your right and your left and there's another aisle, and you're probably gonna buy some things. So altogether, I want to conclude my speech and give you a few tips how you can avoid falling into the trap of buying more than you want to. Basically, don't go to a supermarket when you're hungry and when you're stressed, because that could cloud your judgment. Also have a set budget. So, if you have £20, just try to stick to £20. Which leads me to the next point, have a shopping list, because if you go shopping often, you know how much each product costs, you know how much milk costs and bread, so you can kind of get the idea how much you have to buy to stay within your budget. And I would also say, if you have children, then go shopping without them if you can, because obviously they don't like being told no, and if you accidentally go down the aisle where there's children toys and all that, they will probably want to buy more stuff. And another tip is, if it's a familiar supermarket, try to make a plan. Usually the aisles have a specific layout, so if you know which layout there is, then you can also make your shopping list in such a way that in aisle 1 is bread, in aisle 3 is milk, and then if you make the list this way, you're much quicker and you're less likely to buy things you don't need. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you learned something new today.